Well, welcome to the school board meeting tonight. This is the one meeting every 2 years where the superintendent actually gets to chair the meeting for a few minutes because it's right after an election. So there are technically no school board officers at this point, because if you look at the agenda, they'll be taking care of that in just a few minutes. So I'm going to call us to order and welcome everyone here. And at this time, we will have a moment of silence. Thank you. And as with almost all of our board meetings, we have one of our schools come to share some highlights at their location. And tonight we have the privilege of having the Hamilton Career Center. And before they do their school highlight, I believe Mr. Lusk has a student here that is going to come assist us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dennis, come up. This is Dennis Compton. Dennis, come stand up here and look. Smile pretty for the camera for us. Here you go. Dennis is a senior at Walhalla High School. Dennis is in our building construction class. Dennis is completing building construction this year. He is also a completer in architectural and mechanical drawing. Chose Dennis because he was the contract construction student of the month of the first annual. We'll talk about that a little bit more in our highlights. And we're very proud of Dennis. We'll talk a little bit more about him in just a few minutes, but if you'll don't mind, turn around and get us started. If everyone will
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's always a great thing to get to highlight what's going on at the Hamilton Career Center. Special welcome to Dr. Sloan. Dr. Sloan, thanks for being here. Congratulations. You too, Mr. Lee, congratulations on your recent election. We're glad to have you a part of the Oconee County School District. The Career Center is a special place. Tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about what's going on there now and kind of where we're headed in the future. As you can see, the mission of the Career Center, in partnership with home and communities, to enable students to become socially responsible citizens and lifelong learners. We highlighted those words because what we do at the Career Center truly is a partnership. It's about school, it's about community, it's about industry, and we really want that enable word. It's a very, very strong word. We're trying to not just teach students, we're trying to teach students to kind of be lifelong learners and to be able to go out and function in society. We're very proud of what we do. We're doing a good job of kind of fulfilling that mission statement at the Career Center. This slide sort of encompasses a lot of what we do. It says to increase student engagement and ownership of learning, we should give students opportunities to do meaningful work that makes a difference locally, nationally, and globally. We think that's what separates the Career Center from your traditional K-12 school, is that we're trying to give real-world experiences, real hands-on, meaningful learning experiences, and solve real-world problems. And that's something that we're super proud of at the Hamilton Career Center. The first thing we want to highlight is the reason that we have Dennis here today is Build Oconee. Build Oconee is a new initiative we've started this year, and Build Oconee is all about the construction industry. The #1 phone call that I take every single day, or maybe not daily, but at least weekly, is from our local contractors, whether it be carpenters, whether it be electricians or masons or HVAC. We're starting locally and nationally when it comes to those that are in the trades. Construction is something that we're focusing on this year, and Build Oconee is something that we're proud of and we kicked off this year. Contract Construction Student of the Month is why Dennis was here tonight. It's actually a company called Contract Construction out of Columbia. They have an office in Charleston area, and now they have an office, one of Oconee's own former graduates, Megan Ketterman. She was Megan McPhail. She's a former teacher. She works for Contract Construction. She came to me expressing that need. Hey, we need people in the trade industries, and we want to highlight a student who's in your classes. So Dennis was our September Student of the Month. October was another Walhalla student named Cole Roper. And Dennis was recognized because, again, he's He's a completer in our construction programs. He also had an internship with J. Davis Construction this summer. That's going to continue into January. And Dennis is hoping to go on to Greenville Tech and take construction science. He's really interested in sort of the project management side of construction. And Dennis is now in the running for a $5,000 scholarship at the end of the year. He was the first student recognized for the Construction Student of the Month, and we wanted to honor him tonight. Just a couple little things about Build Oconee. We've now doubled this year. We've doubled the amount of students in building construction from last year to this year at our school. We are looking to add another full-time position next year for either an electricity or an HVAC program, possibly a dual program there. And then we are just amping up the number of paid co-ops and internships with local contractors. Build Oconee is something we're very proud of. You're going to hear a lot more about, and we're always asking for the community to support us. So if you know of any local contractors, whether they be residential or commercial, please tell them to reach out to me at the Career Center, and we're looking to get more students interested in those fields as there's such a high demand. The NOW program is something I've talked to you guys about for the past couple of years. The NOW program is something similar to Build Oconee that we started 2 years ago, where we focus on manufacturing. It stands for Nurturing Oconee's Workforce, and it was a joint partnership with the Oconee Economic Alliance and the school district. And what we did is we tried to get students interested and aware of the opportunities we have in advanced manufacturing. As you know, manufacturing is sort of the lifeblood of our county when it comes to jobs. So we've done a really good job of promoting that, and we had a lot of success from our first NOW class that graduated in May. Of those 32 students that started our first NOW cohort, we recognized 18 of those as NOW scholars. Colin Keeline is a Walhalla High School student. He was honored as an RBC scholar. He received a $3,000 scholarship to Tri-County Tech. 13 of those 18 that were recognized as scholars are currently still in Oconee County, and they're working and or pursuing a higher ed degree in advanced manufacturing, which is what the NOW program was designed to do. We're very happy about the NOW program. Where we currently stand now with the NOW program, Dr. Thornton and I helped create a mechatronics pathway at Tri-County Tech. As you know, Tri-County Tech has opened up an Oconee County campus. We have 19 juniors, sophomores and juniors who are in the mechatronics pathway. When they graduate high school, they're going to have 44 credit hours at Tri-County Tech. When they graduate high school, they're going to have 44 credit hours. They're basically going to be a semester and a half to a year away from an associate's degree, and there's high paying jobs in maintenance in our local facilities waiting on them when they graduate. Very excited about that. We have our highest numbers ever. We have 58 in our welding program, 44 in our machine tool technology program. Over 75 students are now enrolled in our Project Lead the Way engineering program. We took a tour of BMW in October. We're taking a tour of BASF in January with some other industry visits on tap as well. 55 plus students will be doing mock interviews and eligible for summer internships and scholarships this spring. The NOW program has achieved its initial goal, which is drawing interest into advanced manufacturing, and our building is thriving when it comes to that, so we're very proud of the NOW program. One thing, if you want to go ahead and start passing that, this is Danielle Ivy. Miss Ivy is my new assistant principal, and she was kind enough to come to help me tonight. She's passing out a shirt to all you guys. This is the 50th year of the Hamilton Career Center. 50 years ago, in 1968, the Oconee Vocational School opened at our current site. We did some rough numbers. Over 20,000 students in Oconee County have come through that building over the last 50 years. 20,000 students. Think of the stories. Think of the lives that are changed. Think about the impact that building has had in our county over the last 50 years. So it's just an awesome time to celebrate what's happened there. And as you know, Fred P. Hamilton was instrumental in getting that started. We had the privilege of celebrating his 90th birthday in the 50th year of the building, and he celebrated that late summer this year. So it was really cool to see him and his family. A lot of hard work went into that building 50 years ago. We're proud of that. We're celebrating that on February 17th. We're actually going to have the birthday celebration. We're inviting all district board members, staff, administration, and any other former instructor to come celebrate lunch with us that day. And we're currently creating a wall of fame with pictures of former students. So if anybody in here was impacted by the Hamilton Career Center or the Oconee Vocational School, please send me a picture with a little bio, that kind of thing. You can bring it in person, you can shoot me an email, anything like that. But we're doing a really good job of trying to capture the impact that building has made. This has been a really good year so far in celebrating that, and we're looking forward to drive that celebration on to February 17th when we're actually going to have that birthday party. Sort of new, so it's that's the kind of the theme for the next 2 years in my building is celebrating the old and being excited about the new. Our new campus, we broke ground this month. Now, it may be flooded now because I don't think they've been able to work much over the past couple of weeks. We broke ground this month. Construction is going to begin in February. We're moving in fall of 2020. We're going to be right there on Highway 11 beside the new Tri-County campus. It's a 135,000 square foot building. Engineering and manufacturing is going to be the focus of the design of the building. You're going to be very proud of that building when it gets done. We have a lot of space for program collaboration. We understand that our business classes and our engineering classes and our design classes and our advanced manufacturing classes need to work together because that's what happens in the real world. So we're designing this building with real world in mind and a lot of that collaboration. It's really the first building of its kind. Again, it's at the industrial park. There's a technical college there, a high school career center on the campus. That is what workforce development is all about, and we're very proud about where we're headed for that. Again, the Career Center, we're a family, we're a close-knit family. It's an open door. Anybody in the community who wants to come see what's going on, please feel free to come by. I want to thank the school board and the district administration for their continued support. I feel like there's a lot of wind in our sails right now, and we feel the support and love you guys have shown us. We want to continue to grow. Again, get the word out. I'm on 94.1 about once a month, kind of celebrating some of the stuff that we do. But please, people you go to church with, people you know, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, grandchildren, please tell them, spread the message, spread the gospel of career and technology education, because I'm telling you, we're at the forefront of it right now, and we want as many students down there. We're excited about where we're headed, and I want to thank you again for the opportunity to get to highlight some of the cool things going on with the Career Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lesk. Appreciate that. So now at this time, we will have the swearing in of our new board members, Dr. Sloan and Mr. Lee. If you'll join me in front of the podium, and I think Dr. Sloan's mother is here to hold the Bible for her. And Ms. Gibson, who's our secretary to the school board, is going to, I think we're going to have a second. Sorry. Hold the Bible this way. And if you'll just repeat after me to take the oath of office as a school board member. I state your name.
I, Sandra Sloan,
I, Jerry Lee,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I am duly qualified according to the Constitution of this state
that I am duly qualified according to the Constitution of this state
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state and the United States.
the Constitution of this state and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to both of you. Thank you. And my last act presiding over this meeting will be to assist in the nomination and voting on a school board chairman for the next 2 years. So at this time, it would be appropriate to open the floor for nominations for chairman of the school board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a nomination for Jerry Lee to be chairperson.
Okay? So we have one nomination for Jerry Lee. Are there any other nominations? Okay. At this time, we'll have a vote. All in favor of Jerry Lee being the school board chairman, please raise your hand. Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, I'm going to assume that Jerry decided not to vote, so 4-0. So at this time, I am going to relinquish the presiding over this meeting to Mr. Lee. And Mr. Herring, if I could get you and Mr. Lee to switch places.
Nope.
And I'm going to switch these nameplates for right now.
Well, thank you. I will do my best, and I'm sure each of you will point out any mistake that I made. I hope you do, but thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda, approval of tonight's agenda, the November
I wanna do
12th.
the Vice Chair and Clerk.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. You can put that on here. You said board officers. Okay, we will now entertain nominations for the vice chairman. Is there a nomination?
Mr. Chairman, I move we nominate Joe Cat as vice chair.
Mr. Rucat. Any other nominations? Those in favor of Mr. Rucat as the vice chair? Thank you. Congratulations, Joe. And now the clerk to the board. Nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I make a nomination to Denise McCormick as our clerk.
Okay, Ms. McCormick. Other nominations? All those in favor of Ms. McCormick? Thank you. Keep your... Okay, now then we'll get to the approval of agenda for the November 12th work session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approved the agenda for November 12th, 2018 work session.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions or corrections to the agenda? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Public comment. Ms. Gibson, did we have no one signed up? Okay, thank you. Okay, approval of minutes from the October 8th work session and the October 15th regular board meeting. I think they were in your packet this month. Did anyone see any corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes? Can I get a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the October 8th, 2018 work session and the October 15th, 2018 regular board meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion second. Questions? All those in favor? Okay, discussion items, 2018 South Carolina School Boards Association voting delegates, Dr. Thorson.
Okay, we have the School Boards Association Conference next month. Yes, next month. December. And we get 4 votes as a county. And I know some of you are attending that meeting and maybe some are not. But if 4 of you go, you can the 4 people that go can have a vote each. If 3 go, then one person gets 2 votes. If 5 go, then somebody does. So anyway, so basically, we need you to decide tonight who's going and who would carry Oconee County's 4 votes to that assembly in December. And you can see that that is an action item for a little bit later in the meeting. And we just need you.
Vote on it later. Now, you're not going. Are you going? Okay. Okay, so that'll.
Well, that might make it really easy.
That'll work out easy.
So when you get to that item, we'll ask you to vote on that because Ms. Gibson does need to report that to the School Boards Association as soon as possible so that we can be represented at the School Boards Conference in December.
Okay, thank you. Policy IKADD, content and credit recovery, Ms. Simmons.
Yes, sir. Back in one of our earlier meetings, we had already approved the administrative rule for content and credit recovery, but the School Board Association requires us to have the policy to go along with the administrative rule. So that's what we're looking at this evening, is the content and credit recovery policy. The policy is the broad understanding of what content recovery and credit recovery are. The administrative rule that was already approved breaks down the specifics on what our district follows for a student to qualify for content and credit recovery. This policy also has a short, brief description of student athletes and where they fall into that category, that there are some limitations on credit and content recovery programs because it could affect their eligibility in the NCAA play. So we just need to have a policy to go along with the administrative rule that we had already approved.
Any questions of Ms. Simmons?
So now, if the student is failed.
Yes, sir.
Fails the course,
Mhm.
then they can come back the next semester or the next year and pick up the portions of that they need to pass or take the course over.
There is a time limit. If they have failed the course completely, then they would be looking at a credit recovery opportunity. And they are eligible to take that if they've obtained a grade of 50. But if it's lower than the 50, they have to retake the course altogether.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Ms. Simmons. October financial report, Ms. Moore.
Yes, you all have the information in your packet, and I'm happy to take any questions, if there are any.
About where we need to be here.
About where we need to be, we are.
We received very little from the county so far.
It's coming this month.
Yes,
though.
yeah, it'll start this month.
Yep, we got the notification Friday that our payments are starting to roll in. So
Okay,
it's good.
good. Questions or comments on the financial report? 2020-21 calendar, Mr. Hanby.
I added some updated information to your place setting. We had the survey information and you got the graph, but I apologize that the numbers weren't on there first, but if you look at the handout that I gave you, it will show you the actual number of folks who participated in, because that's important. So if you look at the parent survey, and we sent out over 7,000. I'll just tell you, we sent out over 7,000, one per family. If you had multiple kids, like Dr. Thorson's house, where he has 3 students in the school district, he only got 1. But if you had just 1, you should have received 1 in the mail. Now, we do have a small a stack in there where some came back because we pulled the addresses off Power School, and some people had email addresses in there. Some people had non-existent addresses. Some people had moved. Some people didn't have a mailbox at their location. So there were a lot of different things, or maybe they had a post office box. My point to that is, for parents, please update your information in Power School so we'll have accurate stuff if we try to send out or call.
But to quantify that was probably 50 out of 7,500.
Yeah,
So it was not
50 to 75 at the most. It was not a huge number that were returned. You can see with the parent survey, we had 768 parents voted, 419 for the modified calendar, 349 for the traditional. And then some obviously just went in and didn't put anything, a very small number. Our staff, we sent out a little over, right at 1,600, and we did that via email. And we sent a reminder when it was time that the deadline was approaching, and we had 771, so we had a much higher percentage respond, and it was fairly close to 415 for the modified calendar, 356 for the traditional calendar, and then a few that for some reason clicked on and submitted but didn't pick either one. So I guess my question to you all is, what direction do you want to look at, or how do you want us to proceed? I don't have a recommendation at this point, because we were gathering information, and we were gathering information because the parent advisory group asked us to gather information. This is not a district developed initiative that we, as a district leadership team, started and tried to push. It was brought up last year at Parent Advisory. Because of the timing, we didn't get it in time, and so we wanted to get an early jump on the calendar for 2021 in the event that this was going to be a consideration. We feel like we would need to do something by January or February so people would have a full year and several months to plan their next summer's vacation and those kind of things if we're going to change. So I guess my question for you all as a board is there more information you want me to gather? Do you want us to look at this, talk to Parent Advisory, and come with a recommendation based on what we have? Are the numbers enough for it to be something we consider? I'm kind of putting the ball, I guess, in your court to tell me how you want me to proceed. We did a little bit of background, got a little bit of information. We did talk with Dr. Lucas. These numbers were higher than what he had gotten in his surveys before when he proposed a modified calendar as one of three versions.
His recollection was that about 7 or 8 years ago when he had proposed this, that it was about a third of the people were in favor of it and 2/3 against it. So you can see the numbers have changed. Just percentage-wise, these numbers that Mr. Hamby gave you, for parents, it's about 55% in favor of a modified calendar, 45% for traditional calendar. And with staff, it's about 54%. So it's real close, 54, 55% in favor of a modified year-round calendar. And if I could just, since there are several new folks in the audience tonight, just so you know exactly what we're talking about, when we say year-round calendar, that scares people because people start thinking, oh, you're going to go to school year-round. Kind of. It's still 180 days for students and still 190 days for teachers. But instead of a 10-week summer, it's more like a 6-week summer, but we expand and have a 2-week fall break and a 2-week spring break. So there are 2-week breaks between each quarter. So we go 1 quarter of school, have a 2-week break, another quarter, have the Christmas break, another quarter, the spring break, and then we finish up school. The advantage that we think it could help us in that we can remediate it multiple times during the year. Instead of going 180 days and then students who are unsuccessful having to come to a summer school and try to catch up for the whole year where they missed information or didn't learn some certain things, we could have remediation periods after every 9 weeks so that hopefully a student wouldn't get a full year behind. We could find out what they were needing help on after the first 9 weeks and get some remediation during a week. So it could mean additional days of school for some students. But instead of a 20-day summer school, it might be 5 days in October, maybe some in December, depending on how the calendar shook out, and then maybe some in March when we had a spring break. So we do think it could benefit students. Again, it's the same number of days, same contract time for teachers. We'd probably have some additional teachers working those remediation periods, but it's not a real budget decision because it shouldn't cost us that much more money to run a modified schedule. We would need to talk with some businesses if we pursued it. We would need to talk to the local daycares because it could change how they operate. They're used to having 10 weeks of students in the summer now as opposed to 6 there and 2 during the year. So there would be some things some work we would need to do, but I think we just need guidance on whether this is something we want to pursue. There are districts that do it. No, there are schools that have a modified calendar in the upstate. We're not aware of a district that does this. We feel like if we did implement it, we would need to implement it district-wide. We don't feel like it would be a good thing to have different schools on different schedules in Oconee County.
And also for just the folks, we are sort of, our hands are tied with the calendar. I do the calendar each year with input from the schools and from the administrative team. But we're not allowed by state law to start school before the 3rd Monday of August. And like this year that was August 20th, that's late. Ideally, we would like to finish first semester before Christmas so that our students can finish those classes and take those exams before Christmas. This year, students are going to go up to Christmas break, They're gonna come back, gonna have 3 or 4.
7 days.
Okay.
Well, there's
3 or 4
7
days
per
of
semester.
class left to continue on and review and that, and then they'll have 2 days of exams. That's tough after a 2-week break to come back and do that. It's much better if you can do it like a college is set up, the way we're on the semester block, and take your exams before Christmas and then ideally before Memorial Day, if we could in the summertime. But because of legislation, we're not able to start then. If that legislation were to change, then we feel like we could just go back to a calendar that starts, August 8th or so, 7th or 8th with the students, and be able to get our 90 days in before Christmas. But that will be the goal. So it's driven by the academic side of it, but we're just kind of out getting information because our parent advisory group asked us to, and I kind of wanted to see where you guys thought we should go next. And I'll, yes, sir.
The question I have is when it comes to remediation, the busing of our students, it's going to cost us a little more for the busing because you got 180 already, and now you're going to have an additional classroom time.
That's no different than what we do in the summer. We just take the money that we use for summer school and use it for the remediation, I need to go to that class, remediation time between semesters. So, I mean, and Mr. Wright, I saw him was here, he has to run buses in the summer for summer school locations for our elementary kids. We don't do it for our middle, they provide their own. Because they're going to do it for promotion, but we have to provide buses in the summertime. It would just change it from all of June to a week at the end of September into October, a week maybe at Christmas break, a week at spring break, and that. So I don't think it would cost us any more with the buses. It would just run them at a different time.
Steve, you would have to have teachers.
We would.
Also during those 2 weeks.
Same deal, pay them like we do summer school now. I mean, we go summer school the whole month of June. Ms. Simmons arranges that. She has different locations and they pay for them. So really it would just take the place of summer school. So the money that was going into summer school for teachers, for the lead person that runs it, for buses, and that would just be spread out over the year during those remediation times.
Will we not have more schools participating in the remediation as opposed to our summer school programs that we've had in the past?
We ran summer school last year at Blue Ridge, and we bussed everyone
Everyone to Blue
there.
Ridge.
So we had a consolidated location where all of our students came, and we would probably do something similar. It might change to where we do one in each of our high school attendance areas or something like that, but it would, that's why I said it wouldn't be a huge budget implication. It might cost us a little bit more if doing it at 3 or 4 different times during the year as opposed to 1 month in the summer, but we don't think it would be a tremendous amount more.
But I do agree with what you're saying, that there will be more kids who would probably take advantage of that opportunity.
So we're going to be bringing those kids into a school that they may not have gone to.
Right, that's true.
That's what we do every summer.
Or have that same teacher.
That's
Right.
true.
Right.
That's true.
Okay.
And I think it's a good idea to talk with the daycares and business and industry. It'd be good if, some of the leadership team would speak to different civic clubs and such as that. And I'm sure the media will give us plenty of coverage on it and get some input from.
We can try to arrange that and have a meeting for daycare owner-operators. And I have a feeling Mr. Lusk can get us in front of some of our industrial employers that, the big manufacturing facilities that hire many people. We can start floating this idea a little bit more since we've given parents and staff an opportunity. Now we can go to the community and see if we can get some feedback from them. The last thing I guess I'd like to mention, and this is just a personal feeling, if we were to do this, again, we're talking 2021, so we're not talking next school year. We're talking a year, 18 months out. I would like for us to make a decision this spring if we were going to pursue the modified calendar, simply because we need to give people time to plan.
Yeah.
And it would.
February or March would be my
I'll start to say
idea.
shortly after the first
Ideal.
of the year, but
Yes.
if we could do that, and then maybe you get back with the school improvement councils and
we meet with them coming up, so we can talk to those
And
folks.
just get all the input, you know, at
Sure.
least give everyone
Some-
that we can think of opportunity, and maybe put it on the agenda for January,
We'll have to
February
check on that.
timeframe.
Okay. All right, so bottom line is do a little more research, get a few community members, more folks involved that could be affected by it, and then kind of report back to
Yeah.
you all and just sort of keep you up as we go
Advisory
through.
council, you know, anyone that, let them maybe come up with,
Mr. Rickett?
What I was also thinking, we're expecting to see possibility of more students participating in this remediation as opposed to a summer school program.
We would hope. That would-
Right, because the parents can still say no.
Yes, that's correct. They can always do that.
Could this be used as a time for the content recovery that we're talking about?
I was thinking that same thing when she said that would be a good time for them to do that. You can also do enrichment for it's not just for the students who are struggling, you can also do enrichment things for your AP classes and your advanced students and that kind of thing too as well. I did a little talking to some districts that had modified calendars at one time or another, and even when Pickens was discussing it, one of the things that they tried to promote with it was the fact that you can do, all students have something they can do in those times, you know. Or you can go and, you know, your family can go to Disney and they don't have to miss school, and it might be a little bit cheaper in October than it is in the summer. But I'll do a little research. The other good thing about ours is that the kids we have now, we have typically the whole summer. This may be a kid who just struggles with, maybe they struggle with beginning with two-digit arithmetic, and they get it then, and it clicks in, and the rest of the time they don't have to come back. What we end up doing is making a kid sit there for 27 weeks, not fully understanding potentially, and then we try to catch them up in 4 weeks in the summer.
One more question, I'll leave you alone.
Sure.
This is not going to be driven by a computer-based program at all, it's going to be teacher-based? In other
The
words,
yeah.
remediation
The remediation.
would be teacher-based.
Okay, so
as
in
it
other words,
is
the
now.
skills that those would be coming from the homeroom teacher and so on.
Right, they'd be looking at the data just like they do now, and then we'd have something else to measure the progress.
Now, we
against.
would certainly use technology programs,
But
but
not-
there will be a teacher
There'll be
there.
a
It's not,
teacher.
they're not gonna be just sitting in front of a computer.
That could possibly be part of the instruction, you know,
Right.
part of the time, but not solely
But-
what we would.
But led by a
No,
teacher.
Right.
Okay. I think I understand what you guys would like next.
Did you have any feedback from principals or school improvement councils about, I just had several people say to me, well, I don't really care one way or another. I think this is just kind of a disappointing number of votes, you know, one way or the
It is
other.
it is
That-
a
do they just
disappointing
not-
number. That was the
Did you
thing.
hear anything?
We didn't get, at the end of it, we got a couple people called and they said they'd misplaced theirs because they get another one. And the way we had set it up, so every family could only vote once, we really couldn't tell if they had, so we didn't give them another ballot. But we tried to, I did a one call, I let them know it was coming, not one call anymore, school messenger, sorry. But I did that. It sends an email out, I sent an email to the staff. I don't know if the folks were just not interested, if they didn't take the time to look at it when it came in the mail and that, but yeah, less than 10% or 10% was it, I mean, and there was a lot of time and energy and effort put into it to get it out there by folks up here, so, I mean, it was not an easy task to do, and it was extremely disappointing for us. We did a reminder call, did a reminder email for staff. I'm disappointed in the staff that we had over 50, right at 50%, but I mean, I would have expected 80, 90% of the staff. So I don't know if that means whatever is fine with me, or they're not gonna look at what I say anyway,
Well, that was the comment I
or
heard several
whatever, you know,
times.
that's, so.
That it just didn't, either way was fine. But I'll be anxious to hear what the parent advisory committee said.
Well, I will say
have a
that
feeling
a big part of it
that
came
those two
from,
guys will get some feedback for us
Yeah, they'll get some
in the
feedback.
next week or so.
Right.
Tell Willie he'll get some, but a big part of the folks that were interested in it were in the West Oak area in our meetings. The West Oak area was very positive about in pushing it.
Well,
So.
no, and it wasn't that they didn't know about it. There were several that said, well, whatever,
Sure, and I think that's
And I
some, but
guess
I
they
wouldn't make
didn't
it
go.
for 7,000. I mean,
No,
that's,
no,
you know,
no.
6,500.
Yeah.
That just seems like awful lot of.
It does.
I
It
don't.
is. It's just,
We were disappointed.
yeah, I'm sure.
Even with the low percentage that have responded, you got about 50% split.
50, 40, 55, 45.
I see it's 55, 45, but that's not a big split. I mean, we're for it, we're against it. So I would say be cautious.
Sure.
Because if you don't have much more, you're probably gonna run into some problems.
It's difficult.
Well, we'll get more.
Again, we are doing the legwork for the parent advisory at their request,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we don't have a preference either way.
Just
And we
recap.
can make it 1 or 2 schools, not the entire school district, correct?
No, sir. No, it's just too hard with transportation and with kids in other, if they have siblings in other schools.
I was wondering about Power School, will that be a lot of heartburn on them?
It happens in other districts, so it's
Well, that's what
possible.
you're saying, it was,
but
it was possible.
I would prefer not doing that
Oh,
myself. I just think it becomes difficult when we
Especially
have multiple
homes
schedules.
with multiple children.
When
Right.
Pickens tried that, it was a
Grade level.
disaster.
I think Anderson, 5.
They tried it, it did not.
Yeah.
Like the middle schools were on it, and then some of their siblings were out at different times, and.
Yeah, it was hard.
All right, thank you. If there are other things, yeah, I'm happy for you to call me, email me, tell me if you have suggestions, people you want me to talk to, whatever.
We'll look to have that on the agenda again, January, February
Okay.
timeframe, and if you have any further information prior to then, we can
Sure.
always discuss it.
Okay.
And I believe you have the next one
I
too,
do.
Mr. Henry, 9/11
the-
Memorial Property.
The 9/11 Memorial Property, just to catch everyone up to speed on that. Several years ago, I don't know how many, probably 6, 7 years ago, no, maybe not that long. Several years ago, the school district gave some land to the 9/11 Memorial Committee. It's behind the baseball field at the new high school on Highway 11. You might have, if you've been by there, you saw they did some grading work in there. They ran into a few issues. One is getting an encroachment permit from DOT, which we all know that can be difficult. There's also some fiber optic lines underneath there that would cause them some grief going in there, and then they didn't quite get as much money as they had thought they were going to get from both private donations and from the county and such. So Brandon Shirley, who's the chairman of that committee, approached the school district, talked to Dr. Thorson. We were talking about a few things. One of the things that came up was somewhere else on Highway 11, like at the high school, and we just couldn't find a place that we felt good about with that, just because of security and those kind of things. So we came up with the idea, and we thought about maybe the tennis courts, which are at the campus of the current Walhalla Middle School and Oconee Academy, there on Razorback Lane. Not the Highway 11 thing they wanted, but in between Highway 11 and 28, they were looking at getting the tourists going up to see the leaves changing and the different things. Well, they can get them from both sides and that kind of thing. So we talked to him about that. Brandon went back and met with his committee, and then he emailed me and said that they would like for us to pursue that if we could. So I said, of course, I've got to talk to the board about it. Our school does not use those tennis courts. We actually have to put locks on the lights, or they'll get turned on and stay on for long hours, and we get charged the bill for them. We have to maintain that area. So after talking with Dr. Thorson and looking at it, and talked to Mr. Dixon, who's at the middle school, we would like to talk with you and recommend that we kind of swap the properties, and we will get back what we gave them on Highway 11.
It's about 2 acres.
It's close to 2 acres behind the baseball field. Now, we don't have a whole lot we're going to do with it right at this point. And then we would look at the land of the tennis courts. Can you pull the picture up on there down below it? If you see the plat, they kind of had their architect sort of drop in a design on that, and we would keep enough of the, what direction is that, Michael?
South.
The south side of that to give us, if we needed an access road eventually, to cut up from 183 up to the campus to Razorback Lane, because there's been talk about that where Mountain View comes out, and there's been talk about a road there that kind of ties in.
So the entrance would be off of Razorback Lane.
So their entrance would come in off Razorback Lane. They would come in off Razorback Lane. They would enter, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be where they have it drawn now. They've got to get out there. They didn't have a topo to look at. I think they'll probably drop it down a little bit closer to 183. But they would come in off there, and there's a shelter there at the trees. You can see the two big trees down between Pickens Highway and their drawing. There's a shelter there with restrooms, which would be perfect for them. They could do a little cleaning up with that, and then they could take the money that they have, and rather than having to purchase different land in that, they could work with what they have to get that memorial in there. Of course, it'd be a great thing for our community and for our students to have. They would like to work with the city of Walhalla to maybe talk about a park on the backside of it and those kind of things, but just to get them involved, that'll be coming up. But we feel like that we can allow them to have that property, and it will not be of detriment to us. You know, it's far enough off. There's not going to be major traffic through there. They don't expect to be hundreds of people, you know, in there on a daily basis. There may be a few here and there, and obviously as you get closer to the date, more people will come. But for those of you not familiar with it, it will have a piece of steel from the Twin Towers. It will have some dirt from Pennsylvania where the plane crashed, and it will have some block work from the Pentagon where the plane crashed, and then they would kind of tie it in and make it a place that our students could visit to understand and learn more about it, and where people traveling, community members and those type could do it as well to keep that memory alive. And they've kind of been pushed, and so we wanted to try to get it on there so they can do some different things. If you all are in agreement that we could allow them to use this property for that project.
It would be a good addition to the property. Go ahead, Mr. Rickett.
Does Walhalla Middle School not need those tennis courts?
They don't use them.
They don't use them?
That was the first question we had. They don't use the tennis court. By the time they get over there with their PE classes and that, they didn't. They used them for a little while when they were in the older building, but they have not used them in years. He does not have any. That was the first question we asked. We actually were at his place when the thought came up, and he was quickly on board to say that. And that's one less thing. We tried to give them to the city of Walhalla several years ago, and they didn't want to take on the maintenance of them. Those things get pretty expensive, and they're about due new to be resurfaced, and that's a pretty expensive endeavor. We have to maintain that area with the grass cutting and that kind of thing. So we kind of, I put impact, it wouldn't impact as much financially, but it would save us a little bit by not having to take care of that area or worry about it. Insignificant numbers, but just a little bit. And again, this isn't the final design. This was just something he wanted to get to us quickly. He's using an architect out of Clemson that is working with them, and she's very well thought of. So I think that they'll do a good job with it, and it won't be something that'll just kind of get started and left. They've got enough money to get what they need to do here with the road access and what we give them on the property. So I'm actually asking that you have discussion about it and then come back later and vote, because I'd like to be able to get them moving forward, because it'll take us a while, if you agree, for us to do the land swaps and those kind of things. You know that nothing's quick with that. So.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. We do have about 3 action items here. The first being the 2018 School Boards Association voting delegates that we just discussed. Is there a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that there's 4 of us that are going to go, and I think it's Dr. Sloan, myself, Mr. Herron, and you. So that's the recommendation I make as delegates.
Okay.
So,
Motion and a second. Any more further discussion? Those in favor of the voting delegates? It's unanimous. Thank you. The 9/11 Memorial Property Matter we just discussed, and I guess you just want approval for the property transfer. And
If you don't mind, if you all would give Dr. Thorson and myself the approval to move on that with them and sign the agreement, then that would be sufficient, I think.
Any more questions of Mr. Hanby on that before? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give the administration the authority to move forward with the memorial property agreement.
Second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor? And the last item, the policy IKADD, content and credit recovery. Any more questions of Ms. Simmons? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve in first reading policy IKADD, content and credit recovery.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. That concludes the open session portion of our meeting. I will need a motion for executive session for personnel items, employment recommendations and changes, and a student discipline matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a recommendation that we go into executive session for personnel items, employment recommendation and changes, and student discipline appeal.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? I thank each of you for being here on this rainy night, and we will return later.